Hi, welcome back to You Know My Voice, and today's guest is a platinum singer, songwriter and artist with an incredible vocal, sung on massive records, worked with artists like Camelphat, Damian Lazarus, Hannah Wants, Pete Tong, and written songs for Cher. In the studio with me today is the incredible Jem Cook.
Hi, Kel.
Welcome.
Thanks. What a lovely intro. Thanks.
Queen.
You're such a pro.
Thank you so much for coming in.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh no, it's amazing to have you on the sofa. You have got an incredible voice, and also we got to work with each other recently, which was so fun to be in the studio together.
It was heaven.
And yeah, it was, wasn't it? And work on something which we were both singing, which was all really cool as well.
It's very exciting moves.
So before we get on to the big stuff and the hits, just want to talk a little bit about baby Jem.
Oh, okay.
Can you tell me where you grew up and how you started getting into being a singer?
Yes, I was born in West London, Queen Charlotte's, when it was on Goldhawk Road. And I was born into a house that had a recording studio because my dad is still a composer for film and TV and a multi-instrumentalist Jedi of a human. He's amazing. So he actually got me working from about the age of 3. I did my first recording session because we used to do silly voicemails, like I was born in the 80s, so it was a long time ago, and we used to do like analog voicemails, and then with not voicemails, answering machine messages. And a great friend of his who was like a really big deal in like radio advertising, he heard and was like, we've got to get her in. And so I actually got my first jobs when I was between 3 and 5, and I won loads of advertising awards, which I couldn't accept because it was past my bedtime and all these very sweet little things. I don't think I've won any other kind of award since, but yeah. So I had quite a sweet start to that, and then obviously as I got older, and I just kept. My dad always had a recording studio in the house, and we had lots of people always in and out of the house, musicians and writers and stuff. So.
What did you record, age 3? What were you saying?
I think the thing I won the award for was the Evening Standard newspaper.
Amazing.
I remember doing one for Longleat Safari Park. And yeah, I think standard.
I'm imagining 3-year-old on stage, you collecting awards, being like, just want to thank my parents.
Yeah. They actually did say it. They said the person who is the winner of the next award can't be here because it's past her bedtime, but her parents are here to accept it on her behalf. So
I love that.
That's quite fun.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, so it was quite an early education, and that's basically what I grew up doing.
Yeah,
which is it was my normal, but I suppose when you look at it when you're older, you're like, I suppose that doesn't happen to everyone.
So did you start writing music then with your parents?
No, I mean, I very sweetly would probably jot down a few ideas very earnestly before I hit 10, but when it actually came to recording things, I don't think I wrote and recorded my own material before I was like 13 or 14.
Right.
And again, I went to my dad. I basically had 2 cassette players. This was like around about 94, I think. I think the Fugees had just come out, and I was obsessed, obviously, with Lauryn Hill. And I had 2 tape players, and I bounced. So I recorded on one, and then I played it and bounced it. So it's basically a really rudimental version of tracking. But I just played this cassette to my dad, and I'm sure you can imagine he was actually quite proud of this sort of skill that I found. So he was like, let's record it properly. So that was my first official recording, and then it just kind of, that was the beginning. And then
wow, love that. Yeah. So you just knew from your age, there was nothing else for me. This is what I'm doing.
I guess so. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think there was, I wanted to be, when I was tiny, I used to talk about wanting to be a brain surgeon, but I think it was just because I liked the reaction on people's faces rather than something I actually thought I could pursue.
I love that.
It's more like I just always did it. And then I think I really caught the bug when I started to gig, because it was really amazing seeing I suppose your thoughts and feelings and connecting with an audience. Because when I started out, I was an acoustic artist. So it was very, very stripped back, very kind of raw, and, audiences right there, and very intimate, and, which was wonderful. And it's a very good way to sort of road test things I was on the London circuit for a long time doing those kind of acoustic gigs. It's a really great way to sort of test out that kind of material. So you play guitar? I played the ukulele. And
fantastic.
My dad actually came on the road with me most of the time as my guitarist. He yeah, he and I just started writing together like when I was older, and it just sort of worked. And he was like, look, until you can afford to pay someone properly, I'll stand in for you. But there was just nobody better, and at the time I wasn't earning any money, so
so you're like, Dad.
Yeah, thanks, Dad. But yeah, he's a wonderful thing. And I mean, that I thought I was going to be like an acoustic artist. I always thought that's kind of, I was sort of like jazzy, soul-y, or just unplugged. That, you know, you can do anything, can't you, when it's sort of just stripped back.
Yeah.
And then I guess the dance stuff happened sort of purely by accident with sort of what I was doing in my social life. I was hanging out with lots of pals who were amazing DJs and, you know, doing lots and lots of raves. And as a result, I was just hanging out with people and just guesting, just giving them lots of vocals just for fun, because I loved it. And then it sort of, yeah, it was amazing really, because that ended up being the path that sort of, without sounding crass, helped me pay my mortgage.
Yeah, no, not at all.
The other one didn't. It was sort of, and I was like, okay, and then just sort of went with it, which was wonderful, because it's something I never really pictured necessarily, because I had very firmly parked myself in that field, like female singer-songwriter. So it was actually a real gift for me when the electronic side suddenly came to fruition, if you like, because it was me doing what I loved, partying how I liked, sort of connecting to people how I really wanted to. Yeah. But I never really sort of anticipated that.
So how did that happen then? How did that door connect? Because those are two very different worlds.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, partying in the name of research led me to my career. I genuinely, it was just what we lots of research over the years. Yeah. But it was those relationships formed from partying, basically, and just meeting dancey people. The first person I ever did an actual proper record with was Kate Simko. Like when I say proper, I mean like an actual release. I had been writing with some great friends of mine who are based in Nottingham, and we did this whole batch of songs. I was so proud of it. I loved it, and I was like, oh gosh, this could be really amazing. And then one reason or another, it just never came out. But I got together with Kate Simko because she had heard the demos, and I ended up doing a song called Go On Then that I didn't break any records, but in the underground sort of scene, it did really well. I remember being asked to come and do a PA at, I think, the Coronet in the Elephant and Castle.
Right.
The Elephant and Castle?
It is the Elephant and Castle.
Is it?
I mean, it's not, it's Elephant and Castle.
There was
but
an elephant.
Yeah, it's still iconic, South London.
That place. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And this lovely promoter was like, just give me 500 quid cash or something. So I was like, oh, fine, I'll just go. And the DJ started playing the tune, and I was just like, I'll slip in and out. I think, who's that amazing? Some other massive dance singer, vocalist. Oh, it'll come to me. We can insert it later. Yeah. But I was just like fangirling over it. Anyway, I jumped on the stage to do it, thinking I'll just slip in and out. And then like the whole room just ran to the front. And so for me, the electronics side of it was the first time I'd ever had that reaction or connection, because I didn't gig any of the electronic stuff. And then off the back of that, I just was doing more with I did a lot with sort of Vision Quest boys, not officially under Vision Quest, but Lee Curtis and I met Seth Troxler and Ryan and those lot, and then sort of had spent some time in Berlin sort of prancing around again, panting in the name of research.
In the name of,
and then sort of, exactly. But I think it was the Kate Simko record that really sort of maybe opened that door to.
So how did that feel, that performance, seeing as people rush back when they start singing it to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also because I hadn't done, obviously it's a very different thing when you're, a lot of these edits can go on for about a year and a half. Yeah. So and also because that vocal I wrote a song, but she chopped it, rearranged it how she wanted it. So because I'd never performed it live, I really, really rehearsed it. Yeah. Like literally was counting bars and like making sure I knew exactly where all the ad-libs were, and because it was obviously just, and I wanted to do the exact record. And then after all the kids sort of ran forward, the DJ went wheel it up, and sorry, no swearing, and razzed me up with my in my exits point.
Oh,
so
no.
I literally was just like, and I was completely lost, but it was fine. They didn't care at all. They started singing it to me. It was like a call and answer by the end of it. And I just sort of
love that. But yeah, you were like, dude.
Yeah, it was like, do you know how long I've spent trying to work this out and rehearse.
That's so funny because that's also a sign of respect to you that you had to wheel it up and you were just like, bruh.
Of course. I was like, wait, so this is bar. Wait, hang on. It was terrible. I'm such a like loser. I'm not cool. And like just going with the feeling, I was like, no, which Brian? But it worked out. It was fine. But yeah, it was a real like moment for me in my sort of personal, I guess, observation of what had happened with that record, because it was like, oh, that really connected. So that was nice. And then from there, I just sort of got more people contacting me for vocals, and I just carried on doing it.
So Camelphat then, Breathe, huge record, platinum record, stunning record.
Thanks,
how many years then was that from that moment to meeting them? How did you meet them?
So that actually I reckon was about 6 years.
Right.
Many day jobs. I worked in advertising for a long time as a PA. Loved it. It was just lots of fun. And then I left the day job to, become a star.
Yes.
And then suddenly 5 years later, I was like, wait, I need another day job. And you never really sort of, at that point, it was like I was just constantly in and out of those kind of, temp work and stuff. Even though, I mean, this is obviously very relevant for this podcast because I was on a lot of stuff at the time.
Right.
And, but signing rubbish deals or signing things away, labels not accounting to you, and it's very old story. But the Camelphat thing happened because Breathe was written. I went and did ayahuasca because I just felt I needed to go and do it.
Nice.
And I had a very life-changing experience while I was doing it. And that's what Breathe is actually about. It's sort of my it's a real snapshot of it rather than the whole thing. But it's sort of my, I guess, musical testimony to my experience with it. Anyway, it was amazing.
Where did you do this?
I won't say too much about where because I think it's I have to be quite careful because it was not it was in the UK and I don't think you're meant to do it here.
Okay.
So I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but yes, I was very safe and held, and it was amazing. But that was my my sort of story for it was incredibly healing. It was bonkers. But anyway, I wrote that song. And I wrote it for Cristoph, who I've done stuff with before. We had a couple of releases on Defected. We did Slowly Burning and another one or two, I think. I can't remember. But I'd written it for him, and we were sort of all ready to just do our usual thing and, just a bit of money here and blah, 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 and agree splits or whatever. And then I had a call from Mick, who is Prida Records, and it was at a time when Ollie and I, just my husband, were really in a flap about our lives because it was just, we were like, when are we going to be like financially stable and blah, blah, blah. And we were just in a bit of a panic about everything. And then I had a call from Mick just saying, look, Camelphat have heard the song. They've been with Chris in Ibiza. They've actually worked on it. It's amazing. Ministry want to sign it.
Wow.
Can we just start those conversations? So a lot of things about the timing of this were amazing because for me, I was copyright control. I had a publishing deal that had run out a year before. And I said to my amazing manager, Janice, I'll come to her in a minute, but I said to her, I was like, wait, I don't want to sign another publishing deal. Wouldn't it be great if I could write a hit? And then,
and then get the calls.
And of course it would be great, but so would winning the lottery, or so would, finding a rainbow at the end of your pot of gold or whatever it is. So it's obviously really unlikely that things like that would happen, but it all happened so quickly. It was from that phone call to it being released was something crazy like 10 days.
Wow.
It got playlisted on Radio 1 like immediately. I think it climbed from C, B to A. In like across, it was spent 1 week on C, 1 week on B, and then it was on A, and it was on A for about 4 months.
Wow,
it was insane.
Wow.
And so that really did change everything for me because not only did I have a record that was doing really well, I had by that point an amazing manager who took no prisoners on those deals, and then I was able to get an amazing publishing deal with people I'd actually worked with before who were in a new position in this other place. So it was like the end of 2018, just
the timing.
It was like a line in the sand. It was like, it changed everything.
So, because you did the ayahuasca, you're obviously spiritual. Did you, in terms of this, and you're saying how fast it happened and you going, I'd like a hit, and saying that's sort of unrealistic, but were you was there kind of like the manifestation? Because I'm really into that kind of
Babe, I just don't think that's impossible. I think, I swear I saw my children when I did it. Right. And I think you're right. The power of like your brain to control how you then behave, and what the knock-on effect is of that, just by starting with thoughts, writing things down that are realizing what you want, realizing what's important. The power of that is humongous.
So did Cristoph send you like an instrumental, and then you wrote Breathe on top of it from this, and then you sent it back? Yeah. And are you vocally recording yourself as well?
I wasn't actually at that point. This was before I had a setup at home. So I was going down to, do you remember F Block Studios, where like Naughty Boy and everyone worked for like years and years?
And like Ealing. Yeah.
So I had a great friend there, Biggs, who was an incredible producer, writer and engineer, and for a long time he would record all my vocals for me. So I would write like big batches of songs, and then I would go from Hackney all the way to West London, record like 7 things in a row, and then he'd come back and do it. He'd like make them sound pretty, and then I'd send them off from him. So it was a real game changer actually getting my home set up, because obviously that round trip was quite a lot. 2018 was mental. I had another temp job. I would do that in Holborn, sort of 8 till 6. Wow. And then I would write songs on my lunch break. And then I would literally get the tube down to Ealing, record, come back and sort of start the loop again. And I did that for 9 months. And actually that was what was great about that year. Interestingly, the year that Breathe was written, I was so busy just desperately trying to earn money that it cut out all the chafe. So all the stuff that you get told about, you've got to be in the room and you spend like 4 hours waiting for people to turn up. And all of that gone. Yeah. And it just focused me. So I only said yes to things that were either paying me to forfeit my day rate at this agency. And if they couldn't cover that, then I had to really, really care about it. So it just whittled it. So it's like, you're either paying me or I have to really, really, really want to do it. Yeah. And that, luckily this one was actually both. So it kind of worked out brilliantly. But yeah, Michael Biggs is the guy who actually recorded Big Up Biggs. Big Up Biggs. We love you. He's the one who actually, recorded the vocal for me.
I love that though, but like listening to your story, like the dedication to your craft, you were just like, I'm writing songs in my lunch break. This is happening. So you just knew something inside you. This is what you were meant to be doing.
Yeah. Well, do you know what really, really set me free? I was talking to this gorgeous, recruitment lady. Because when I did go back into a temp job about a year before then, I was sat with her in a cafe somewhere off Oxford Street, and I just burst into tears, and she was like, Jem, what? And I was like, I'm so sorry, I just feel like such a failure. I was like, I can't believe after all this time that I'm sat here with you and I'm prepping to interview for like a PA role after everything I've been through. I just can't believe this is happening. And she just took my hand and she was like, right, darling girl, I don't know you, but she's like, you have to look at it, you have to reframe this in your head. She's like, you haven't failed, you're not moving away from this, from what you want to do. You're doing everything it takes to facilitate your music career. And right now, what you need is money. Yeah. So that's what you're doing. You haven't given up, you haven't failed. You're just getting from today to tomorrow, and what you need today is cash. Yeah. Everything else will fall into place, but you're not giving up. We're talking about temp work. This will come and go and it's fine. Yeah. Thank you so much. I wish I could remember her name. It was such a beautiful conversation to have.
That's so lovely.
With somebody that I didn't know, but who just in that moment really saw me and what I needed. And yeah, it was wonderful. I'd forgotten that actually.
And you've not seen her again since?
No.
Oh, she would have heard your voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I must find it. I'm sure I've got her number somewhere, and it'll probably be under recruitment.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah,
I love that.
It was very special.
So when you Breathe is blowing up, you pack in your temp job.
Yes.
You're like, I've made it to the big city.
Yeah. Which you never really think you have. I was like, I've got a bit of money in my bank account, but it wasn't like are we safe?
Yeah.
But then we did go to Goa for about a month.
I like that.
We were okay.
I like that. But then so everything starts moving. Did you feel like the phone was off the hook? Suddenly you're invited to all the sessions, and how did that feel?
Well, that was 2019 basically. My husband and I took a sort of running sort of slide into the end of that year. We were away for about 9 months with work and fun, but having not been able to really do anything like that for such a long time, the wheels came off. We just went for it. We said yes to everything. We were also trying to have a baby at the time.
Oh, wow.
And for one reason or another, it just kept not happening. And I had a couple of babies sort of go away very early, and then we just got to the point where and then we just got to the point where we were like, well, we've already said yes to everything. When the baby comes, if we're lucky enough to have one, we won't be able to do it then. So even if I fall pregnant later or whatever, but we'd already said yes to everything. So then it was the classic thing. We just had a break, and we were like, let's just really, really have a great chunk of time.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting pregnant with Alfie, who did, come through, and he did very well, because I didn't know I was pregnant until I think I was in Ibiza gigging with Camelphat.
Wow.
And I was trying to stay up late and do all the things you do in Ibiza, and then I just kept,
oh no.
It was like something's amok. And then we were like, oh, hang on a minute. So yeah, and then little Alf was in there. But then obviously that took us to the end of like 20. So yes, it was really busy, and it was just so fun, because we could just do everything. We could say yes. More importantly, I knew what I could say no to, which was great.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then obviously by the end of that year, I was sort of like fully pregnant with Alf, and in preparation for becoming a mummy, I had upped my recording studio setup.
Nice.
Didn't have a space, but I had I bought, proper kit, everything. And my lovely friend Kiris Houston taught me how to record my own vocals. And then, so I did that in prep of being at home on maternity leave, because I was like, I don't want to, miss out. But I also can't go to Ealing every time I want to vocal anything.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit.
It's mental.
It was mental.
Yeah.
So then this thing that had been prepared for maternity wound up being perfect for the pandemic. And then I got pregnant 7 weeks after. Which was not planned. But then we did it, and then we had both our babies inside the pandemic. So it's kind of
which was lovely, because when we were in the session, you were talking about that and having all that time. It was really amazing. Gorgeous. Yeah.
And we were all together. I mean, there were moments where it really wasn't amazing. It was incredibly intense.
Yeah.
But it was still, we didn't have the traditional setup at all. I just carried on writing.
Yeah.
Ollie was with me the whole time. He works for himself as well. And the four of us, in the end, when we left Hackney and went down to Broadstairs, which is near Margate, we just sort of who has this? Who gets gifted this when you're... My worst fear was being left on my own with a baby. And we were never going to have that, because we don't have the traditional thing that if anyone's away, it's me. But I realised that's probably why I waited for such a long time to try, because I was just I need to make sure everything's sort of, I know how fortunate I am to have had my kids not only mentally close together, but to have been with my husband for the whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time. He does so much of the heavy lifting as well. He's a legend.
Oh, loved your husband.
Thanks.
But I mean, that is the other thing as well, is you have to take that into consideration, because the type of job we do, being, an artist and a writer, and it is traveling, and it's being here and it's being there and everywhere. And it's can I take this time out moment to become mum?
Yeah.
And then will everything be in place still when I get back, or will people forget about me? There's a big fear that a lot of us have. It's
really hard. And I think to me, the universe or whoever's in charge up there absolutely gifted me that year. Not gifted the pandemic. Obviously that was awful, and lots of people had a horrible time. But for me, being able to sort of have two children in under a year, because they came 11 months apart.
Wow, yeah.
And not miss any live work, because I would have been off.
Yes.
Anyway, and then sort of I got them under the... I mean, I've never had a massive live life anyway. So it wasn't like I was giving up a ton of that revenue. Mine's always come from recording and writing. But, even in that front, I was able to sort of... Me going back to work is very different to normal jobs. Me going back to work is me getting Ollie to hold the baby for a minute and go up, write and record a song.
Yeah.
Back downstairs in 2 hours. It's a totally different thing. So for me, that pandemic year, I just think I was gifted it, because it gave me all my heart's desires for the family I had wanted for such a long time.
Yeah.
But I was completely held by being able to be at home with my amazing hubby, and
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So coming out of that then, and as the world and the gears start turning again in the music industry thing, when did the Pete Tong heritage stuff then start happening?
That was amazing, because I had Pete and that show on my sort of vision board for such a long time.
I love this. You're manifesting this. You're smashing this manifesting.
I need to think about what we should do next. I can take requests.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you manifest for me?
You don't need it. You don't need anything else. So Pete, I had wanted to be, I just looked from afar for so long, obsessed with Vula. And, the whole show is so wonderful. And I'd love to go on there. Even as not featured at all, just put me somewhere in the back, I don't care, I'll just sing but didn't really understand how it all worked. And then obviously the more I sort of paid attention, I realised that they had that, because Vula and Brendan, and I think Holly, I didn't meet Holly because do you remember Cher's? Shazar, she's incredible. I say remember because when the house gospel choir, she used to head them up. She's like Labyrinth's sister. There's
right.
Lots of siblings, each one, more talented than they're incredible family. But anyway, those three are they're the band. They are the core. And then very occasionally you get people like me who get invited to join. And so it was actually another song I'd written for Camelphat. What's it called? Heat Rising. And I think Pete, who got hold of it? It was one of those top lines that got passed around for about 4 years. It was just one of those ones that people kept going, I'm holding it. And then for one reason or another, it wouldn't happen. And then Pete and Jules Buckley got hold of it. And then I think it was a version that the Camels had worked on. Okay. But I don't remember. And then they did a remix of it. I can't remember if I don't think they were officially on the, oh no, I'm worried what I'm saying.
Don't worry.
They had nothing to do with it. But they definitely were part of the pre-production, and then they did the remix. Anyway, as a result of that single, I was invited to come on the tour, which was just heaven.
Amazing.
And it was, really wonderful. There was just not one dud on that whole setup. When you think how many people there are, Jules is amazing, the band are amazing, the whole orchestra. So we were probably away for a couple of weeks, and I think on all the sort of bus journeys and stuff, I had so many really wonderful, deep and meaningfuls with all these amazing people, because you sort of live together, don't you, quite intensely for a bit. Yeah. And it was amazing, and it ended in the O2, and it was just...
Wow, just culmination. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So you're doing that song and then Breathe.
No, I didn't. I only did that one.
You only did that one.
And interestingly, it was Vula was so gracious with me, because one night she stood up and sort of in front of the whole crew on the bus. She was like, I just want to take a minute to give you some credit, because she's like, I think you've actually got one of the hardest jobs, because you're getting on and you're singing the only song in the whole set that nobody knows, because obviously it was brand new. It was released the first day. Yeah. The first show. So, I mean, she's the most generous, gracious woman I've ever met in my life. And you just look at that raw, unbelievable talent. She's so amazing. But yeah, they were just so kind to me. Really kind. Because when you're joining something like that, it's hard, because it's you're...
It's like first day at school.
Yeah, but also, I didn't feel for 1 minute that I just felt so... They were all so warm and welcoming. It's more when you're joining a train that's already going at 100 miles an hour and doesn't need you. They don't... Do you know what I mean? I'm not being down on myself. This show works already. This is inviting me is just it's probably more for me than it is for anyone. Do you know what I mean? It's this show already works very, very well. Yeah. And so it's making sure that you can, really hit the ground running with them, and you want to be because I wasn't actually nervous of the audiences. What I was nervous of was everyone on stage with me and letting them down and not being, as good as they are, because they're just so amazing. They're so on it, and they're doing it all the time. Yeah. So yeah, that was where I that was where my nerves hit. It was about not letting them down because it's such a perfect machine.
Oh, that's so sweet
good.
of you to say. But then obviously it's also a testament to you. Because,
Thanks, Cass.
you know, what you do and how incredible you are. I mean, and I think that's part of the magic of the show is having those special guests come on because you bring a new energy and you bring a freshness and you bring a lightness, and that's part of the magic of it.
Yeah, totally. And also, I'm only talking about myself, by the way. This has nothing to do with anyone else who gets invited.
No, not at all. And I don't think that came across in that way at all. But yeah. So, I mean, which one do you think... Like, because for me, I mean, obviously I love studio and I love writing, but live is my favourite. Do you have a preference out of them? I mean, I love it all, but like live is where my heart is.
Yeah, I think I had a conversation with Wilkinson years ago when we were on tour together, and he said something, sort of, I'm paraphrasing, but to the effect, you miss whatever you're doing less of at the time. And I thought actually that's really true, because if I do, I mean, like I said, my live life, it definitely hasn't ever really been in the majority. Funnily enough, since I did acoustic stuff, I was on the road a lot. I did a lot of tours in Germany and Austria. But yeah, anyway, story for another time. But so the live side of it has never been as heavily weighted as the rest. But when I do have a run, I am excited to get home by the end of it. Yeah. But I do when I didn't do any live last year and I really felt it. I really felt it. So to kick off this year by Damian Lazarus, very kindly, we had a song come out for his new album. He surprise dropped it at his festival in Tulum in Mexico, and he flew me out there to sort of
perform it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I opened the show with like an acoustic version of Into the Sun that we did years ago, and then we closed the show with the new record. And there were fire dancers all around me, which I didn't know they were going to be there. Actually, in my original costume, I was going to wear a massive hat with like a big black veil.
Oh, wow.
And I'm pretty sure I would have gone up in flames if I had worn it. So I was quite relieved. So at one point, I swear petrol sort of hit me in the face. I was like, I'm so relieved I haven't come as a beekeeper as I was planning to.
That would not have been a great start to 2025.
No,
yeah, health and safety. I know sometimes you don't go through those things. I remember doing a show, Dubai Red Fest, and it was absolutely amazing. It was one of my favourite shows. But all these pyros went off at one point when I was on the thrust stage, and a little bit of spark went in my eye. No. And I was like, I'm going to star this out and keep dancing. And you're just like, and I've had another occasion where someone's doing the flames and I got a bit too close to the flame and they flame went off, and I was just a bit like, I'm lucky I wasn't wearing heavy hairspray that day. Yes. So, no, the hazardous side of us doing the show.
We had, when we used to tour with Wilkinson, we had our TM, it was Steve White, who's just amazing, and he would literally go through all the health and safety things until you were, doing it in your sleep.
Just be like,
very clear markers of where you could go and not. But when you're sort of turning up doing, one-offs, you don't always have that.
No.
By the way, it was all very safe in Mexico and everything was fine. And everyone did it.
And you're here today to talk to me. So, I mean, like, after all this stuff is happening, and I know you've had lockdown, what about Jem Cook, the artist, now in the electronic space?
Yes.
Are you putting out your solo project, and how have you found being a vocal artist in the electronic space, having your voice on such a massive record, and then moving forwards with that?
So I locked myself away 2 years ago, went to Devon Analog with Brad Ellis and an amazing young producer called Creed. And I wrote the story basically of the 4 years prior. Basically, what obviously we've touched on, like having babies in the pandemic. Yeah. Right in the middle of the kids being born, my father-in-law, Ollie's dad, passed away really, really suddenly, just bang in the middle at Christmas.
Sorry.
Yeah, and it was a
really
real
tough.
shocker.
Yeah.
And we, and then inside that same year, so we had 2 kids, we lost a parent, we left London, which we were never sort of imagining we would do either. And then one day, maybe when Rocky was 1, Alfie was 2, we sort of, I personally woke up and I was just like, where am I? Whose life is this? And whose kids are these? And what house am I in? And like, it was unrecognizable. And it's sort of, that time for us was, I know I've used line in the sand already, but that was like the deepest line in the sand for us in our whole relationship, because it really is like then and now. And in lots of ways now is wonderful. But it was a really traumatic time, and I felt it was really important to get it out of my body. I definitely had postnatal something or other. I mean, I think anything postnatal is traumatic. So I think it shouldn't be labelled in quite so exclusionary terms. It's just you get a human out of your body, and
and you've got to deal with it.
It's a lot. And I think anyway, I just really wanted to tell the story of it, and I got the fear right before going to Devon Analog and called them and cancelled the whole thing and was like, I just think this isn't, I don't know why I'm doing it. And then had a massive flap, and then called them the next day and said, I'm so sorry, can I please rebook it? And they were amazing. And I went and did it. And the reason I suppose I was trying to bail on it was because I've done this before. I've recorded albums and EPs years and years ago, and put them out myself, and then sort of licensed them to labels, and then you just feel like, and then things get taken down because you're trying to do something else. And I don't know, I was like, I'm just going to pour my heart into it, and it won't come out.
Right.
And I sort of manifested that because it's 2 years on,
and it hasn't come out.
I still haven't pushed it past playing it to a very tiny amount of people. There's one song that Anton Partridge is very keen to perhaps release, and that would be my first solo electronic record.
Amazing.
So we're just figuring that out at the moment, which would make me really happy. Yeah. So I've gone from thinking, oh, typical, I knew this would happen, and I've just done that, and it's just all sitting on a hard drive.
But what's given you the fear, do you think, of putting out Jem Cook electronic?
Well, I guess I don't really know I don't know. There's probably an hour with my therapist to figure that one out. Although I've had many hours with her, and we've sort of half figured it out. But I think it's being torn between, you might relate to this, but when I think it was so personal that I almost think it's sort of the fear of sharing that, not necessarily with like a fan base, but more people in the industry who sort of, I think, oh God, I really don't know. I'm trying to articulate it. I think it's sort of, Anton said something interesting where he was like, it's, none of it's bad. Still great opener, but he was sort of saying sometimes it's you have to take people on a journey basically, and he's like, to go from that, because while it was still electronic, it was still quite it was quite rootsy, and obviously Devon Analog is like got these incredible synths and machines, like proper original ones, and that was sort of part of the fun. And I think if nothing else, it was really important for me to do it as an exercise to write these songs. And actually now I'm thinking about it, a lot of the songs existed before the sound went underneath them, because I'd written a lot of top lines about it quite obsessively, and a lot of quite a few things actually, top lines have been given to other people. So none of it has been in vain, and I still believe there's a home for all these songs. And like I said, if we have that one song, even if it's one song out of that batch of 15 that ends up being my first solo record, then I'll sort of still consider that a good day. But I think I just need to do that first, and then build on that. And I think because also I'm 44, so I'm from a generation that I bought albums. I bought whole bodies of work before streaming, and you bought the album because you were trying to someone was trying to tell you a story.
Yes.
So I think I've still got that, and it's such a different world now. It's very few. I'd love to be Adele. Do you know what I mean? Like disappear for a few years and only write, not only, what I mean?
Yeah, just, write something that's really deep and meaningful. Yes,
I just, none of my records are done quite as well.
So do you feel,
I've got to keep going. I've got to keep sort of writing. And I think it's sort of, but that, again, that's not an excuse. I think it's
but do you feel you're putting that weighted pressure on yourself that if you're going to release something, it has to be lyrically very meaningful and something that's special, really represents you?
Yeah. And I think that's probably when it can perhaps get murky, because I think you stop maybe being so instinctive.
Yeah.
And I think I am really instinctive when it comes to other people's things.
Yes, yeah, because you can detach,
Yeah. I just sort of bleh.
I did a session, we did 2 days, myself and Eva Lazarus, who's awesome.
Oh, I love
and
her.
She's so awesome. And we did a day for her with Ashley Brad and a day for me with Lee Tyler.
Amazing.
And it was really funny because of that kind of thing. She found it difficult that day to get the chorus out, and I was like, how about this, how about this? And you know, the chorus came from me for her song, she loved it, but because I could sit back and observe and what would sound great to her.
Yeah.
And then literally the flip happened, and the next day with Lee Tyler, I was like, oh, I just kind of wanted it. And she was just like, well, how about this? And I was like, okay, maybe, that could work. And I couldn't. And it was just interesting just between those 2 days.
Yeah.
And also that was the first time we'd like met and worked with each other, how I was there for her. And then she was there for me, because when you are writing for yourself, you do suddenly have this kind of heavy, like, but is this cool enough, or is this good enough, or am I saying this right, or blah, blah. When you write for someone else, you have that slight detached thing where you're like, this just sounds banging.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think writing things that I really try and connect with everything I write. So everything that has ever been released that I'm on has something behind it. I'm not sort of that cynical yet. I'll just churn out any old rubbish. I mean, a lot of the content is sort of inspired by, as I mentioned earlier, partying in the name of research. Because knowing what you would want to listen to on a dance
floor. You need to get that on a t-shirt. I like that. I do. That should be part of your brand when you bring out your solo stuff. I want to see that in your fans t-shirt. So like, talking about the writing then, how did you end up writing for Cher?
Oh gosh, that was amazing. I was a die-hard Cher fan. So I was about 7 or 8 when the movie Mermaids came out. I was a bit older. I bought the single, the Shoop Shoop song on cassette. Yes. I bought that at the same time. I bought a pink grapefruit soap from the Body Shop and Chesney Hawkes, the one and only. They're all in the same afternoon. Busy pocket money day.
That's a big day.
Big day. Whenever I smell that pink grapefruit shampoo, I'm always like, or soap, whatever it was, I'm always like, oh, one and only. So off the back of that single, I got completely obsessed with Cher. And basically every time I had any kind of pocket money, birthday money, Christmas money, I ended up buying her entire back catalogue. And I had this little pink cassette suitcase that I had it all in. Cause and that was in like late 80s, maybe 1990s. So even at that point, what I could fill a suitcase with her back catalogue, it was insane. And I really regret it. I must have given it away or just done like a car boot sale somewhere. Anyway, I was a real diehard, obsessed. And then I was working years later. And I think it was Pre-Breathe, definitely Pre-Breathe. Because I was working with Mark Taylor down at Metrophonic and Patrick Mescal, and we wrote a song called Walls, and I vocaled it originally. And then it was one of those songs that was so sort of beautiful piano vocal, very much what I, was doing before, that it was sort of like, we really wanted someone. Either I released it, but it wouldn't have made sense for me to do it at that point, or, give it to like somebody mega.
Yeah. And
Mark Taylor wrote Believe with her.
Oh, wow.
So obviously they have a relationship that sort of went back a long time.
Yeah.
But, which I knew, but sort of didn't really assume that anything would, And then cut to maybe a year later, I was on a hen do in Portugal with some very naughty girlfriends, and we didn't see, what is it? The one that everyone moved to? Where is it?
The one that everyone moved?
North. What's in Portugal? City?
Lisbon,
thank you. My mum and dad had a house in Portugal in the Algarve, but I'd never, ever, ever been to Lisbon.
Ah, okay.
And I still don't think I really have been, because I just got off the plane and we went straight to this villa and just were rascals for 4 days. But on the Sunday, or definitely on the penultimate day, I had a message from Mark saying, do you want to hear something cool? And he sent me the version that Cher had recorded.
Oh my God.
Yes, and we were all quite sensitive by day 3 or 4, and we all listened to it and all wept around the pool for about an hour, laughing and weeping, which was a real magic moment.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was insane. She didn't do like a hard release. She ended up doing it for like, she has a charity to save the elephants somewhere, which is very lovely. Didn't make me any money there, did it? But apart from that, oh God, maybe don't keep that bit in. I don't want to piss Cher off. I love you, Cher. But yes, that was an amazing full circle moment to have this woman that I was utterly obsessed with growing up. Well, never stopped being obsessed. I was a massive fan of Will and Grace.
Oh yeah,
she used to turn up in that all the time.
Yeah.
Very good day. So good. But yeah, so that was amazing. But yeah, completely.
I love that because there's real journey with your story. Again, it just comes back to that kind of manifesting and stuff that's just sort of happened in your career based on things you put your attention on.
Yeah.
So it does sound like you need to spend a bit of time doing that for the Jem Cook project.
I do. Oh, and God, just got me there, Kels.
Yeah, and just allowing yourself, because I feel like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and also when you've had a big record, there's also kind of this anticipation of what the next thing you're going to release is. That's got to be a hit then, or it's got to be the same level. And I feel like there's not enough allowance for us to journey with our catalogue. Yeah, because actually that's what the fans want. You just want to put out songs that you do love,
you're excited about,
that you're excited about, and then one might be a hit and one might not be a hit, and one might be just a fan favourite and one might be your favourite.
Totally.
And just like allowing yourself to breathe. You
see what you did there. But yeah, I really let go of that pressure like quite early on. I was encouraged to by, again, my amazing manager Janice. Everyone needs a Janice.
Yes, Janice
is Janice Brock. She used to be the co-president at Sony ATV. Amazing. She actually signed me to my first deal. And then when she left there, we were like, right, when my deal's up, we'll work together.
Amazing.
And she, she's a one-stop shop. Because she is a publisher, but she's my manager, and she knows legal, and she's incredible.
She's the boss.
Yeah, and she has fought tooth and nail for me since the second she started, officially looking after me. And I know again how lucky I am for having her, because not everyone has. She's literally my first line of attack and last line of defense. She's just around me.
Yeah.
She's just got me, covers me completely, and protects and fights for me every day. She works much harder than I do. Really, she's amazing.
I mean, it sounds, it's really incredible, and the stuff that you've had happen and the way the roots have kind of opened themselves at the right moments in time and stuff like that. What is 2025 looking like for you?
2025 is exciting, actually, because I've remembered now what we were just talking about. Sorry, before I coughed up my frog.
Janice the boss.
But it was her encouraging me to not, then this ties into 2025, but encouraging me to not overthink the collaborations, because that was always in my head as well. Don't do too many features, don't do too many collaborations, blah, blah, blah. But actually, if people want to work with you, everything I write is mine.
Yes.
Their songs are mine. As long as I'm on the master and I'm on the publishing for the majority, then this is me putting out my thoughts and feelings, and I'm not going to worry about, because, I'm doing collaborations. I'm collaborating with producers.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So I would be doing that anyway, even if their name was on it. If we're co-primary artists, I'm thrilled with that.
Yeah.
And for as long as people want to keep collaborating with me, I am going to keep doing that. So that was, in response to the not overthinking, like when it's like, oh, you're only as good as your last one, because I just think you're not. And also no one knows. Nobody knew what was going to happen with Breathe. Just no one knows. And I think it's just not that deep. Just keep making stuff, keep putting stuff out. Some things will really connect, some things might not, but it doesn't, it's all right. It's not, and I think that's the blessing in a way of being an artist like myself, who's a bit under, no, I don't want to say under the radar, because that sounds like I'm being mean to myself, and I don't mean it like that. No. But I'm not, there are no expectations other than, oh, that's Jem. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we like what Jem does. Yeah. And she collaborates with people. And then if something flops, nobody cares. Yeah. No one knows. It's just like, I'm not sort of a major artist signed to a major global deal. I'm an independent. Yes. So that's great. And I can just keep doing. Anyway, sorry, tying it into 2025. 2025 is off to such an exciting start. So it had the Damian Lazarus release, Searching, which I felt really unbelievably excited about and really connected to, because as much like we were saying, I try to be as connected as I can to everything I write, but every now and again one will hit different, and that one is one of those ones where I get very goosebumpy when I'm singing it. And it was obviously, the opportunity to go and perform it live was great, And then today I've actually got a song out with Cream. It's called Blue Symphony.
Oh, lovely.
And that's quite a fun little...
Love Cream. They're great guys.
Yeah.
Really talented.
Number. Really great. Really good guys. I wrote that with Toby Scott and The Good Boys.
Amazing.
And then I've also got one with Switch Disco coming out.
Amazing.
Which is fun, called Two Hearts. And I've got something with TCTS coming out.
Amazing.
And there's something else. I've got more Cristoph coming this year. Ariel Free and I did
Love
a track
Ariel.
that I'm very excited about. So hopefully that'll be coming out soon. And then Hayden James. There's a lot.
There's a lot.
That's bubbling
Very
away.
exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be a great year, I hope. I found last year quite difficult. I found it quite sort of swimmy in a lot of places. I think just the state of the world in general. And then maybe I think I had a bit of a delayed reaction to the 4 years before. I definitely went into a bit of a nosedive. I'm feeling much better now.
And coming into the year in a power boss mode.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this year is going to... Well, I'm choosing to manifest that 2025 is one of the good ones.
Amazing. Jem Cook, thank you for coming in today and thank you for sharing your journey with us. And I'm very excited to hear your collabs. And I'm particularly excited to hear the Jem Cook record.
Me too. Me too.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you.
Love you. Thank you.